Rack your look for spring at Nordstrom Rack and save up to 60% on brands you love. Rag & Bone, Vince, Marc Jacobs, Adidas, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices every day at Nordstrom Rack. Score new dresses, denim, sandals, designer bags, and sunglasses, plus updates for the family and home. Get your spring on for less, up to 60% less, today at your Nordstrom Rack store. What will you find?
Meet the next generation of podcast stars with SiriusXM's Listen Next program, presented by State Farm. As part of their mission to help voices be heard, State Farm teamed up with SiriusXM to uplift diverse and emerging creators. Tune in to Stars and Stars with Issa, as host Issa Nakazawa dives into birth charts of her celeb guests. This is just the start of a new wave of podcasting. Visit statefarm.com to find out how we can help prepare for your future. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Today is the day you will lose fat. Come see Dr. T at NJ Diet.
Easiest diet I've ever done. It's changed my life. Come see Dr. T.
Using blood work and DNA testing. 1-855-5-NJ-DIET and NJDiet.com. Change your life in only 40 days with NJ Diet.
My next guest is from Lawrence, Massachusetts, and has been killing it since at least 2006, but obviously prior to that as well. He's a straight lyricist. His name is Termanology, and I want to welcome him to the library with Tim Einenkel. Thanks for joining me, man.
Peace. Thanks for having me.
So, you know, Rex is from Lawrence, Crumb Snatcher, yourself. What is, for those who know, what was the hip-hop scene like in Lawrence, Massachusetts, when you were coming up? Was there... Besides the MCs that I just kind of, was there like an MC that you kind of looked up to, or you know wanted to imitate, I guess, that was from there, or was that not heard of yet?
Yeah, I would say my personal experience, Crumb Snatcher was the one that was making the most noise and was the most successful. In my era, a little bit older than me was Rex, who was also making noise independently, and Rest in Peace is Scientific was also a name that we heard often for like making noise out of the city, you know, out of Lawrence, going to Boston, going to New York, you know, moving around. So those were kind of like three of the people that inspired me. But Crumb the most, because Crumb was like, he was, you know, down with DJ Premier. He was part of the Gangstar Foundation. He was like getting hip hop quotables in the Source. You know, he just made it feel like I could do it. And I see, you know, the guy you see at the barbershop over there, yeah, he's also in the game. He made it. So that was kind of, besides those three cats right there, there was kind of like no hope. You know what I mean? There was really no scene. And this is speaking from a 14-year-old Termanology's perspective. I'm at the barbershop already rhyming when I'm 14. Just kind of hoping these guys will pull up so I could rap for them and, you know, and see where it would go.
Did you have, as a 14-year-old, Termanology at the barbershop, did you have the rhyme that you wanted ready? Or
yeah, I was ready, man. I had a couple, but you know, back then it was a lot was about freestyling off the top. You know, it was like, you know, how could you impress them? You know, whatever type of sneakers he got on, whatever type of people are around, you shout them out, put it in the rhyme. So with that scene, how do you? I guess how do you develop yourself? I mean, is there a sounding board that you have? Is it just kind of you knowing your full potential and continuously practicing? It's all practice, man, because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a mentor. My biggest mentor was just being a fan of hip hop. It was like every Tuesday when the music would come out, I would go purchase it. I already had a job when I was 14. I already had been working, so I spent most of my money that I made at my job on music. I would go every Tuesday and buy all the new projects. I believe I started doing that in like 95. Like around like 94, 95, I started really... I mean, I was buying tapes already in like 92. Even though I couldn't, I would give money to my mom's boyfriend. He would buy them or whatever the case. But I started like my own real CD collection and stuff in the early 90s. And I just studied all that. Wu-Tang, you know, Fat Joe, Cypress Hill, Snoop Dogg, all that. I studied that stuff so much to the point where it was like I emulated them enough where I kind of created my own style.
I know in other interviews you just mentioned Fat Joe, but you've talked about Fat Joe, Big Pun, and the importance of them as Latino artists in hip hop. What when you first got in, how hard was it for a Latino artist to kind of break through? You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, like a white artist you talk to, like I remember years ago in college, I talked to Jurassic 5 and Cut Chemist, and we were just kind of talking about how extra grimy a white artist has to be, right? In order to kind of
earn
make it.
any props. Yeah.
Is that the same with Latino artists when you first came out?
I mean, it is and it ain't. It's like, you know, I think hip hop culture is looked at as black music, or was looked at as black music in that time. I think now it's so it's changed. You know what I'm saying? You turn on the radio and you might hear 10 white rappers in a row now, and that was not the case when I was coming up. You know what I mean? That wasn't the case, and also you might turn on the radio now and hear 5 Latin records in a row. You'll hear Cardi B. You'll hear, you know, all these people. So it's like that wasn't the case either. So yeah, it was kind of a struggle. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, you had to prove yourself a little harder. And I'm white and Spanish too. I'm 50% French and 50% Puerto Rican. So it was like people didn't know what to take of me. They're like, is he white? Is he Latin? Can he rhyme? Is he just another, you know, he looks different than everybody. So yeah, it was a struggle. Now I feel like people don't have that struggle. Hip hop is so universal. It really don't matter how you look. You can have rainbow hair, you can have tats on your face, you could do whatever. But when I was coming up, you had to look a certain way. You had to, like, it was real militant, you know. And Lawrence was a real grimy, like, dirty place. So you just really had to just be just grimy and street, you know, to even be there.
So how'd you get from Lawrence to New York? I mean, did you go through, because I know Boston has a hip hop scene. Yeah. You know, did you go through Boston?
I went through the Boston hip hop scene. I didn't live there. When I was going through the Boston hip hop scene, I was living in Haverhill, which is the city next door to Lawrence. And me and my clique ST, we were just trying to get a name, and getting out of our city was one of the biggest. Like, when, you know, just getting props out of our city was like one of the biggest things on our checklist. So we would go to Boston and spit for Edo G. We would, you know, spit for Big Suge or Guru, you know, whoever Esoteric, you know, whoever was like putting out records and was dope. We would go there and open for them and like earn our stripes. So we, you know, me and my man Easy Money, we did that for a few years until I felt as if we were making a lot of noise in the city, and it was like we needed to spread out. And then in 2004, we started making our way over here to New York and doing shows out here. And Static, had just moved out here. So Static was like, yo, Term, if you really want to make it, it's not going to happen sitting in Haverhill. Like, you're going to have to move to New York and get out here and grind, you know what I mean? Right. So he really put the battery in my back and, like, convinced me to move out here. So a couple years later, in 2007, I ended up following his lead and moving to the Bronx.
So prior to that, you were just commuting back and forth from...
Yeah, every week I would take the bus, because I had to go back every Sunday because of a court order to see my daughter. So I had to go back, you know. Yeah. Obviously, I wanted to see her, so I would go back regardless, but I had to go back. So I would come out here, you know, for 2-3 days, go to the studio, do radio, XYZ, then get back on the bus, go back to Haverhill, you know, do what I got to do, see the kid, try to get my money up, come back to New York, and, you know, things kind of haven't changed on that aspect, except for now I drive myself instead of taking the bus.
Is there a scariest or funny moment that you ever had on the Funghwa bus going from Boston to New York?
Man, the Funghwa bus, man, that was... You know, I'm from Lawrence, so we're fortunate enough to have the Spanish bus. I don't know if you know about that, but it's like this bus where you pay $40 and they put you in a van with a bunch of people and bring you door to door.
Wow, okay.
Whereas like the Funghwa bus, it's only $15, but you got to get a ride from Lawrence to Boston. You got to sit there, wait, get on the bus, and so you're kind of more on their time. You know, so if you had the luxury to have the $40, you could get on the Spanish bus, you know. So I was more a Spanish bus fan, but I definitely took the Funghwa a million times. And I can't really pinpoint like one experience, but I know my biggest song, Watch How It Go Down, I wrote the second verse on the Funghwa bus.
Shit, wow, really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
When did you know you're going from Massachusetts to New York, you make the move officially to New York. Yeah. When did you know, or maybe in prior to this, but when did you know that you... Like, was there a lyric that you wrote that kind of said, all right, I'm lyrically gifted. Yeah. This is something this is something I'm going to pursue and I'm going to make?
I feel like that happened more as a kid. Like, I remember having a conversation with my mom when I was like 15, and I'm like, I don't know why you want me to go to school. I'm not gonna use this. There's 0% chance I'm going to college. I'm never gonna have a job. I'm just gonna be a rapper. So like, it's either that or I don't want to live.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she was kind of, hey, you know, that's cool, but that might not work out. So you should, you know, try to go to school or whatever. And the whole time I was in, you know, high school, I knew it. I had my headphones on. I'm writing rhymes. I wasn't paying attention. I was like, I'm not gonna need none of this shit, you know. So I like, you know, to keep it real. I've known since I was 15 that this was what it was gonna be.
Do you know the first thing you penned that kind of?
I can't remember the first rhyme I wrote that made me say, you know what, I got it. You know what I mean? Because I was writing rhymes since I was 9, and making demos already on my little tapes when I'm like 12, 13, 14. So, you know, I felt like I've been nice, but I know like around 15, 16 when I really started like sharpening the sword, because I met Easy Money and Artisan and Snuck and the rest of the clique, where we were all sharp and we were all kind of battle and see who was the nicest. So it was just that era when I really believed in myself in my late teens. I
know you've spoken about this before, but you linked up with Premier pretty early on in your career. How did that? It seems like that's a connection that would be really hard to make if you're a young MC coming out now. How did that happen? And were you like just shooting him demos? Did you just like find him on the street and spit for him one day, or?
Nah, it wasn't that easy. It was a lot more work than that. Crumb Snatcher had brought me to the Same Team No Games video shoot, the Gangstar video shoot, and I had linked with Guru, and I played him one of my demos in the car, and he liked me, took a liking to me, and he kind of put in a good word to his circle that he thought I was dope. Crumb brought me to Preem, introduced me to Preem. I took a photo with him, I spit for them. But that was cool, but it was like, yeah, so what, you know? So I just kept going to different events where he was at, try to show up, hey, remember me, giving him CDs, vinyls. And then Static was, you know, he got cool with Premier first, so he was like, kept telling Preem, like, yo, you know, you should mess with T, you should. So eventually, Static gave him one of my records, and he began spinning the record, and that's when I was like, okay, this is a possibility. He likes me enough that he played my record. It's a possibility to get the beat. And Static was in the lab with him one day. He called me. He's like, yo, Tom, Preem got a beat here, you want it? You know? And like, yo, if you want it, it's yours. So they played it for me over the phone. I was like, hell yeah, I want it. And man, I was Watch How It Go Down. My life changed after that moment, you know.
Did you write? Were you already writing for a Premier beat that you were hoping to come, or did you wait? Did you? I mean, imagine jinxing yourself. Did you wait for that?
Nah, when I got the beat, I was so scared of it. It took me like almost like 30 days to write it. You know. I remember Static said, "Yo, you ready? You done? What's up?" He's calling me. I'm like, "Yo, it's gonna take a little time." You know what I mean? Because it was scary. You know, I felt like it would make or break my life, and it did. I had to give it my all, and pour my soul out.
Was that the most pressure you ever felt writing?
Definitely. That was the most pressure I've ever felt writing this song, for sure.
You know, Watch How It Go Down. It gave you notoriety. I know the stories that major labels were, you know, knocking at your door pretty much.
I had a bunch of label meetings.
They wanted you to do more pop-ish music.
Yeah, they wanted me to do Spanish music. They wanted me to do pop music. They wanted me to do a bunch of like unrealistic things, you know.
But then when you read, so Spin has a bio and it reads, term focused on collecting beats from Easy Mo B, Large Professor, and Pete Rock. What is collecting beats? I mean, what does that mean?
Well, for me, what I set out to do was, as soon as I got my deal, I wanted to make an album that was like Illmatic. That was like my plan. I'm like, if I could try to get like the same producer lineup, you know, among some other greats, then that was my idea. And man, I was on a mission that took me like about 4 years to gather all those beats. You know what I mean? We're talking like the greatest producers of all time, and every single person, you know, every single beat is like a nice down payment on a nice car. Right. You know, every beat, like, or even a car. You know, some of the beats cost a whole car. So it was hard to get all those producers on board and to pick the right beat and to come up with the money. So it was a mission, but it was all worth it because in the end, I did something amazing, you know, and that set up for what would be the rest of my career.
Did you know the album is Politics as Usual, right?
Yeah.
Did you have tracks written already for that, or what? I mean, when did you start writing, like, I guess, the concept behind Politics as Usual?
I can't remember when I made up the concept, but I know that the first 2 songs I had was Please Don't Go from Knots, and then Watch How It Go Down was the next. And then everything just kind of fell into place after that. It was like, you know, what was your wish list? I would tell Dan Green, who was my manager at the time. I would tell Nature Sounds, who was the label a little bit later. I would tell Static, who was friends with certain people. Like Static helped me get the Alchemist beat. Nature Sounds helped me get the Havoc beat. You know what I mean? Pete Rock, I reached out to him myself. I texted him. He hit me right back. So it was just like gathering all those beats was a mission, but collectively me and the team did it.
On the track This Is Hip Hop, I'm just going to skip around, sorry.
Yeah.
You have this Gangstar, This Is Real Hip Hop, KRS One, This Is Real Hip Hop, Rakim, Public Enemy, Coogee, Rap, Polo, Tropical Quest, Big Daddy Kane, and OG. Define what is real hip hop here, and do you think the definition of quote unquote real hip hop has changed throughout your experience?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the sound. I think when the sound changed, then that led to like the morals in hip hop changing. You always had rap that didn't make sense, but in the earlier eras, the rap had such a consciousness to it, so it really lost its identity along the way, and unfortunately, it's like rap is rap, but then hip hop is hip hop. So some of the names that I mentioned in that song, which I wrote in 2004, ironically 15 years ago, it still applies right now. I still feel the same way that I felt in 2004.
You've not just worked with great producers, but you've opened for great artists as well. I mean, I mentioned Fat Joe, but 50 Cent, you went on tour with Q-Tip,
right,
and Common. What has been kind of your biggest takeaways from working with these artists on tour? Was there anything like you expected from them, or didn't expect that they would do that you just kind of blew you away?
I think the best thing I gained from doing all those tours was just learning how to make it a job for life. You know what I mean? Going on my longest tour was with Red and Meth for 60 days. 60 shows, like every single day is a show. You don't get to rest. As soon as you're done, you get off the stage, you drive to the next state because it takes 18 hours, and then you got to be on stage again. Sleeping in vans and all of the grind that it took to make them the star that they were. Before I went on that tour with Common and Tip, and before I went on the Red and Meth tour, and these big tours, like, you look at the artist and you think, oh, I could do that, until you go on the tour and you see what it takes, and you're like, whoa, these people do this all year? Like, this is crazy. This is like, you don't get to really be with your family, right, or have like a solid relationship with your kids or your girlfriend or whatever. It's like you're literally traveling your whole life for a good cause. But yeah, I think I learned how to be a good performer watching Red and Meth and MOP and Everlast and just all these cool people that I've opened up for and shared the stage with. Even Kanye, I shared the stage with Kanye West before. He did the Knitting Factory show with Consequence. And it's just crazy, man. Like, watching all these guys, I just like learned what to do and what not to do.
You've been in the business, and I imagine the importance of the live show has gotten more important with the fact with streaming and stuff like that in terms of making money, right? Because you have to sell merch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You've also released albums independently. What do you think the advantages are in this day and age of streaming, though, of being able to release independently?
Independent is the way to go. I mean, if you could find somebody to put a huge bag behind you and get you like, different types of money, corporate money, or, big revenue streams because there was a lot invested into you, then that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But owning your own masters in 2019, it seems like it's a must. Mm-hmm. It's like, why would you even record a project now to give to someone else. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like moving forward, I feel like you should at least own half of the master. You know, you and the label half and half. We both have a say where it goes. We both get paid. Like I was reading today that De La Soul, you know, they boycotting getting their music stream because they're getting a very small percentage, like 5% or something, 10%. And it's like, they're like, this is our music. You know, we've been paid you 25 years ago and you're still trying to screw us over. You know, so stuff like that. It's like, I want to avoid that when I'm 25 years in the game. I would like to avoid that. You know, for the most part, I have 36 projects and I own the masters on at least 30 of them. You know, most of my stuff I own. There's a few where I co-own it with another artist because we both wrote it, or we, you know, that artist produced it, whatever. So we kind of split up the stuff. But I mean, moving forward, I think it's all about owning your own masters.
I want to turn to you know, your EP, the 1982, which features a track with the late Mac Miller. Yeah. When Mac Miller passed away, I was pleasantly surprised that how many artists came out, and not just new school artists, but like old school artists that came out just to talk about how great of a person he was and how artists. When you're on this track, obviously with him, called 8292. When did you first hear Mac Miller spit, and what were kind of your first impressions?
I would have to say it was April 3rd, 2010. I think the first time I heard him rap. And Static called me and was like, yo, I might have this kid on the radio tonight, listen. So I listened. He killed the freestyle. That's it. Excuse me. That same night, he was like, yo, come to New York tomorrow. I'm going to be in the studio with Mac. I think you guys will sound good together. I'm going to put you guys in the lab together. And I was like, I don't know. I got stuff to do. And he's like, yo, trust me, bro. This kid is, you know, he's going to be big. It's worth the trip. So I said, all right. I stopped everything I was doing, got in the car, drove to New York, met the kid. He was really cool. At this point, I believe he was 18. And his mixtape Kids had just dropped like a couple days before that. So, we were chilling and, you know, he was like, all right, what's the beat? We did 2 joints in the studio live, going back and forth with each other, bugging out, laughing, smoking, drinking, you know, just having a good time, man. And that youthfulness that him and his team had, they were still happy to be in it. They were still excited. And we were too. So, you know, it was just a great studio session, a great memory. Mac was a friend of mine. It's really really sad that he passed, but like you said, it's really dope how many people showed him that love. Yeah. Even that he got nominated for a Grammy and all that stuff. It was like cool, man. You know, it was dope.
You have a great line in it. You spit, Mac was born in 92, but he rhymes like he's from 82.
Yeah.
What was about him that gave him that kind of 82 vibe?
Well, he was rhyming like Big L. Like he was rhyming like, you know, like pun. He was rhyming. And then when I say that, I mean like with the rapid fire flow, with the punchlines. And he actually told me in Static's backyard, he was like, yo, my 2 favorite rappers is Termanology and Big L, pardon. You know, he told Static that, and then Static was like, yo, you heard what he said? So he told me. So it felt really dope that I inspired him, you know what I'm saying? Awesome. And when I finally got on the track with him, I heard it. I heard the inspiration, the same inspiration I got. Like he might have been inspired by Big L. I might have been inspired by Coogee Rap, but it's really all the same, the same thing. You know?
On your track, Are You Sure, is your ode to New York City.
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned it before. What was it about New York City that kind of helped you grow as an artist and kind of get over that? I guess, I don't know if you got over a hump, but...
Yeah. You get, you know, when you're from a small city, you think that city is what the world is. You know what I mean? That's all you've seen. So once you come to New York and you realize that you might be the man on your block or in your neighborhood, but when you come to New York, you're like a little speck. You know what I mean? You're not even... You can't even get in the club sometimes, you know what I mean? Because that's how irrelevant you are. You realize how much work you have to do and how hard you're going to have to work, you know what I mean, to get where you're going. And it's very motivational because daily you're around people that have so much more than you know what I'm saying, whether it be accolades or money, fame, whatever it is that you're looking for. You know, New York has a whole bunch of successful people, so just... You know, if you're aiming to be successful, this is a great place to be.
One thing I like about you and what all my friends like about you is that you don't stick to one style. Your flow varies from, you could go slow on one track to kind of fast on another track, such as the track No Competition featuring Annoyed.
Yeah.
What are the challenges for you changing flows, and why do you do it?
There's no challenge. It's like what I do. You know what I mean? Honestly, there's no challenge. The only challenge is that those type of rhymes take a long time. No Competition probably took me like 6 hours.
Wow.
Whereas I've written other rhymes that you might have heard in maybe 15 minutes. You know, that's the only challenge, is that it takes a long time to write a level at that a rhyme at that level. You know, where that particular rhyme switched like 8 times. You know, so I got it in the competition. Trying to treat me like I'm not on top of my position. But I'll tell them, but let's kill them, hit them up, handguns, got about band them guns and them drugs and vet. So you go from Bone Thugs and Harmony to now you're singing, to now you're talking, you're rapping. So just that like takes a long time to pen, but there's really no challenge behind the songwriting of it, because that's just what I do. Just rap.
That's amazing. You've done, I think, 36 projects, you said?
Yeah, 36.
For someone who can't write a lyric to save his life, who's been trying to for years, where do you find the time, and where do you draw the inspiration from? I know you mentioned the bus writing lyrics, but where do you how do you have time to write?
It's a passion, man. I vent doing it. I wrote a rhyme last night. I was like this close to not finishing it, because I was just I'm standing there for 10, 20 minutes and I'm stuck on the same word. I'm like, all right, what rhymes with this? What rhymes with this? For 10 minutes, 20 minutes, most people would give up, but like, it's not coming to me. I don't give up. I just either I'll just record it on my phone real quick and write it down and put it aside and come back to it, or B, I'll force myself to finish it. I'll be like, no, just do it, because when it's done, you're going to be very proud. You're going to be happy with the result, And I think just pushing yourself to be the best writer you can be. That's it. You know what I mean? Keep pushing. Keep listening to everything else that's out, and make sure you don't sound nothing like it, but stay current with the time.
Now, the thing is, are you writing with, is it always the point is that it will be released on a track, or do you just sometimes just write to, I guess for any of the personal stuff, just kind of like write lyrics that are not going to be released, you just want to?
I would like for all of them to be released, but sometimes after I write them, I'm like, no, this ain't it. Or, maybe it's not good enough, or maybe I'm like, somebody might feel some type of way about this one. I got a little too personal on this one, so I'll shelf it. But I very rarely shelf lyrics. I be letting that shit fly. I'm like, whatever. Fuck how anybody feels.
Anything you could share with us in terms of what you were writing last night?
Last night, what did I write last night? Last night was, I think last night was like a song about selling drugs. I'm pretty sure. It just had that vibe to it, that it was just like, it felt like that old 70s hustler, I'm on the block, I'm gonna get it type shit, so that kind of comes easy to me, because I'm from Lawrence. It's a poor, poverty, stricken place, so it's like, that's what I seen growing up. It's easy for me to identify with writing those themes.
A couple of more questions. Couple of real quick questions.
Yeah, no rush.
What is your absolute favorite part of being an MC?
My favorite part is, I guess, the reaction from people, whether it's in the crowd, when you're rhyming and you see people's face get excited when a song comes on they like, or you see them spitting the lyrics. Naturally as a man, it feels good to see like women, liking the music too. That's cool. We all remember those days in high school where we liked all the hot girls and they didn't like us back, so it feels good to be at the shows and all the girls are like, oh, you know what I mean? So that's cool. Those are like, some things I like a lot. To get a little deeper than that, that's just more like the fun shit. But like, to get a little deeper than that, I teach a lot of people with my rhymes. They hit me up like, man, when you said this, I started moving different. Like, you really helped me, man. Thank you. That one line, that shit really hit me. When you said boom, 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 or yo, you know what? I went through the same exact thing with my father or with my kid, or, when I really hit people with the jewels and they love it, and they listening to it, and they're sending videos via Instagram and commenting, a million fire emojis and don't stop, you're the GOAT, all that type of stuff. that really fuels the fire, because I'm like, all right, cool. You know, everybody gets to a point where like, all right, am I done? Is my career done? Do I go sit on the bench and let the new guys rock?
Right. Yeah.
You know, when do you hang up the jersey? So it does get a little bit like iffy at some point. Like, damn, should I quit? Like, have I said all that I have to say?
Right.
And then when you put out a song and people rock with it, you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna keep going.
What's your absolute favorite part of hip hop culture?
Oh man, just the music, man. You know what I mean? I love the fashion. I used to dance. I used to do graffiti. I make beats. I own turntables. I collect records. I'm just a hip hop all around. I live, breathe, walk, sleep, live hip hop. And
I guess lastly, is there I kind of asked you this earlier, but I'm going to ask you again. Is there a lyric or line that you've written in your career that kind of has, that has you kind of be like, this is one of my favorite things I ever wrote? Yeah, man. It was, looking back on it, it was kind of like a risky thing to say, but I think the opening line to Watch How I Go Down really set a bar for who I wanted to be. It was like, I see myself as the holy resurrection of pun. If I ain't that, then you name one rapper that's lyrical / Latin. So it's kind of like, I was proclaiming myself as, at that point, which I felt like I was the most lyrical rapper in the game that was of Latin descent since pun passed, you know what I mean? And I just kind of like proclaimed myself like, nah, this is it. You know what I mean? I thought pun was the nicest, and when pun died, I felt like I was the nicest. And there was a whole bunch of other dope MCs coming up at the same exact time, you know what I mean, as me. And I still think they're all super dope, and it's nothing but love for them, but that's just how I felt. So, a lot of times I would bump into people and they'd be like, Holy Resurrection of Pun. I'd go to the show, they'd be screaming it all over Europe. Holy Resurrection of Pun. Some people didn't like it. Some people's like, yo, you're not the next Pun. Whatever, take it the wrong way. But for the most part, people identified with what I was trying to say. I was just trying to keep Pun's name alive and hold him at a standard, and then also hold myself at a standard. Like, all right, this is the best, and I want to try to be the best. Straight lyricist, amazing MC, amazing artist, Termanology. Thank you so much for being on the library with Tim Einenkel. Thanks for having me.
Price drop? Time to shop. Get to a Nordstrom Rack store today for first dibs on new markdowns. Now score even more, up to 70% off brands everyone loves at Nordstrom Rack. Denim, dresses, sneakers, tops, and more. Plus, get genius deals on jackets, sweaters, and boots for the whole family. Shop your Nordstrom Rack store today and save up to 70% with new markdowns. But hurry, deals this great won't last.
Meet the next generation of podcast stars with SiriusXM's Listen Next program, presented by State Farm. As part of their mission to help voices be heard, State Farm teamed up with SiriusXM to uplift diverse and emerging creators. Tune in to Stars and Stars with Issa, as host Issa Nakazawa dives into birth charts of her celeb guests. This is just the start of a new wave of podcasting. Visit statefarm.com to find out how we can help prepare for your future. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.